I will introduce the issues, the 3 main issues for discussion on this program in this edition, and I'll introduce my guests and we'll delve into the issues. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. This week we are looking at 3 issues. One's got to do with the threat of secession by groups in the Volta region fighting for or protesting or wanting to secede from the country under a new name or a new area called Western Togoland, the area of contention for some time now. It's been in the news. We also look at the Electoral Commission's registration exercise and the matters that have come up with regards to that. We discussed that matter last week, but it's developed, the story has developed in so many different ways. We'll look at it this week. And of course, the political parties, the 2 main candidates, the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and John Dramani Mahama, flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, have been touring parts of the country. The president in the Ashanti region, he just wrapped that up today. He's in the Eastern region, and John Dramani Mahama is also in the Bono region. Also, of course, explaining the issues in the NDC's manifesto. But let's look at how the papers and the major news portals have captured these major stories this week. We'll begin with the matter regarding the separatist group movement for the quest for the creation of Western Togoland. From City Newsroom, we will deal with secessionist groups. That's President Akufo-Addo. B. Hohoi Traditional Council dissociates itself from secessionist group. City Newsroom, secessionists may attack others, that's other regions. That's from Vladimir Entry Danso. Daily Analyst, acts shameful, NPP scolds secessionists. To the Daily Guide now, Volta rebels strike again, burn buses in Ho. ABC News, government won't negotiate with rebels, VIP talks tough. Ghanaian Times, separatist group strikes again in Ho, attacks STC yard, burns 2 buses, subject drivers, security men to severe beatings. To the Daily Graphic now, House of Chiefs condemns secessionists, rallies support for government. To the Herald, Friday's roadblocks in Volta region raises suspicion. Different flags, different colors, different symbols identified. To the Informer now, secessionist group at war with state, security dawns point to intelligence failure. To the Chronicle, Volta Chiefs, National House of Chiefs condemns secessionist attempt. So a Ghanaian publisher, deal with secessionist group. That's from the Awomefia. Government rejects accusation of intelligence failure. So now to the second issue for discussion. Let's look at how they've been captured. So Daily Graphic, 1-day voter registration today, NDC court action unsuccessful. To the citynewsroom.com on this story, Tamale, EC overwhelmed by turnout for 1-day registration exercise. Daily Graphic, EC restores majority of missing names on register. Ghanaian Times, will deliver credible voters register in readiness for December 2020 polls, EC assures. To the New Publisher, missing names, EC locks up 17,000 voters as exhibition ends. ABC News, Asanteman will remember your good works on December 7th. Otumfo to President Akufo-Addo. City Newsroom, Nana Addo has nothing to show for excessive borrowing. That's from Mahama. Chronicle, Akufo-Addo speaks, I will deal with troublemakers. And final paper, Daily Guide. Nana Jabs Mahama, I cut sword with funds. So these are the major stories as captured by the major news portals across the country, citynewsroom.com to the other newspapers that we saw the issues advertised or the issues on the front pages of all of these newspapers there. So I'll welcome my guests to the studio right about now. I have Selo Madunu. Selo Madunu is head of features and articles here on City FM and City TV. Welcome, Selo.
Thank you, Duke.
Kojo Akoto Boateng is head of new media, City FM, City TV. Welcome.
Thank you, Duke. How are you?
I'm well.
It's always good to be on the set with you.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's begin the issues from the matter of the separatist group, the Homeland Study Group Foundation, and the issues that almost after the Attorney General filed a nolli prosequi, all the persons involved who were arrested were left off the Upapa V, for instance. And then on Friday morning, news broke that they had attacked certain critical state installations and all of the other issues involved therein. How did the news get to you, Kojo?
Well, when we got the news, I was a bit alarmed because we all know the importance of the enclave to the nation Ghana and also to movement in the sub-region. So when news broke that some people had blocked roads, some people had attacked police stations, and that there was violence in some of the places, I was very worried. But then later, when the security agencies moved in and there was some sanity restored in the areas, I was a bit okay, because my initial worry was, look, every movement from Ghana to Togo to Benin, Cote d'Ivoire by road goes through the areas that were affected. So it meant that it would worry business and commerce. Number two, the violence and whatever that it may grow into also got me very worried. One, because you are close to elections, and two, because Ghana has gone through a lot of phases and our country is now very stable. So if we see some of these things coming up, bear in mind what is happening in Mali, northern Nigeria, what we've seen in Cote d'Ivoire, what we've seen in Burkina Faso, it makes one worried. So basically, that's how I received the news. And with time, we've seen the new developments. And I think that this is a time where we all get together as a people, find the best solution to this so that we'll move forward into development as one nation. Okay,
let me bring in Selam here. Friday, this happened. There was a lot of discussion on the matter. Then Monday, OSTC had attacked. Accusations of intelligence failure on the part of government. Government has, the president has responded saying that they have a full grasp of the issue and the security agencies. He trusts the security agencies to be able to do a good job with this. How do you marry the two?
Well, I think it's a worrying state of affairs you have in that enclave or that territory, if you want to call it. It's not the first time we've had agitations from that side of town. Way back, even in the days of Nkrumah, these agitations were there. And in 1975, around the Achampon era, we had agitations from there. So indeed, at one of the meetings or debates that IK Achampon attended, the chiefs, some of the chiefs in the area tabled that issue to him. I'm not sure how he dealt with it after he left the Deba, you know, and in recent times, we've had such activities from these people. In a long while, the one that began this wave of recent activities had to do with the May 9 supposed independent declaration. And that May 9 day is important for a reason. I'm sure they chose the May 9 day because that was the day on which the plebiscite of 1956 was held. It was held on May 9, 1956. So I'm sure they chose that day because perhaps it was significant to their unification with the Gold Coast. And then again, let me point out that there are people who say, I mean, without that strand of the country, we don't have a Ghana, because the plebiscite was done at a time that the other part of the country was called the Gold Coast. And so that part joined to it, to form a full nation called Ghana, on 6 March 1957. That's when Ghana became a country. So Ghana became a country together with that part of the country. So it's erroneous for people to say that, they joined after Ghana became Ghana. No, they joined before the entire thing became Ghana. So you cannot have Ghana without that corridor. I think that's important to point out. Your question really is how do we marry the two? We have people saying that they are in firm control of the situation, others saying that it's a security failure, etc. I think what will not help us now is pointing fingers at people, saying this thing wasn't done well, this thing wasn't done this way. Indeed, there are people who believe that things can be done faster, things can be done a bit more proactively. But this is security we are talking about. You never know how things go. So I think what is important is the government must give assurance to the people that they are on top of the issues, and it should not just be in words, but it must be through some action. I'm not proposing militarization or violent action. Some concrete action should be taken to make the people who live in the region or in that territory know that indeed government takes them seriously. Government is concerned about their security and the stability of that region and the stability of the country in general. I think for a number of reasons, the occurrences have been sad to me because, one, if what is happening there is not nipped in the bud, it will have implications for investment in the area. And we are talking about that area as one place which is fertile and a good place for investment. The marketing of the place or the branding of the place is still ongoing. And we have this. Nobody will want to take money to a place where there is no peace and stability. So that's a serious issue. What will also happen is that it will prevent people who come from the area from going back to the place. And when people who come from the area do not go back to the place for reasons of security, etc., then you have a situation where the region largely will not be developed. And a number of things. There are very good things in the region, tourist attractions, schools, a lot of good things in the area. So I think this thing, if it's not nipped in the bud, will have dire consequences for the region. The region, I don't mean Volta region per se. I mean the whole territory that they call the
even the place that was attacked. Strictly speaking, it's not even part of of the
Western Togoland. Exactly the case, because
Togoland.
When you look at the history of Ghana and even the map pre-independence, the southern part of the Volta region as we have it today, and by extension, I mean the Volta region, because people think that's it, but the Western Togoland thing is actually, longer. It moves from somewhere, the whole area, to the Upper East region. So it's quite a long stretch. So before Ghana, we had the Gold Coast, and the Gold Coast was made up of a number of units or territories or protectorates. There was what we call the colony, which was made up of the coast, and the colony extended to the Anglo side, the Anglo, the Tongu side, where the Tongu side, where the activities are happening now. So those parts really were not part of the Western Togoland in the first place. So it's actually misplaced for people who think they know the history of the place to be fighting from an area which really was not part of the original thing. Okay. So I think that is something they must bear in mind.
Let me bring in Kojo here. There's the argument of whether to engage these separatist groups or not. The arguments have been made by some, and this argument is quite clear in the minds of security analysts. Others have said that these are people that you should not engage them, because when you examine the claims that they are making with regards to whether there's even cause to prosecute this agenda of theirs, for some this is not one that should be pursued at all. Others have said that if you don't give them the opportunity to meet and express their grievances, it could escalate or get out of hand. What's your take on this, on the matter of whether to engage them or not?
This is a very loaded question, and if you think about the issue and you weigh the various options, I think we need to have a mixed approach to dealing with this. Before I even go straight to answering you, we've all noticed how the chiefs have been vocal in this, and they've presented a unified front. And I think we must commend the chiefs for how they've handled this issue so far. In our traditional setting, chiefs are custodians of morality and tradition and custom.
And culture.
And culture is very important in nationhood. So, like the chiefs of Bator, they've spoken Mepe, the Togbega has spoken, the Omafia has spoken, Togbe Afede. All these chiefs have spoken, and you see that they are all speaking in one direction, that they are not part of what is happening, and the people must work together, and we are one country, and we must fight to remain one and develop together. And I think that's the way we have to go. Now, if you look at a bit of history, even the local and the global context, usually if a place within a system decides to break away, then they feel that their needs have not been met over a certain period of time and that they deserve better and they've not gotten it. My history may not be too good, but I think that in modern history, even in the past, the only place that is successful that decided to break away has been Barcelona in Spain.
And there's one in Cameroon.
Yes. But if you check the trends generally, it's places that feel they've been left to fend for themselves, places that have been underdeveloped, places that have not been given the attention that sometimes come up with this thing. If you go to Nigeria, you see the trends, where the presidents come from, where the most educated people are, and places where they feel development wasn't equitably distributed. They want to break away. So some of those are some of the underlying issues that we must deal with going forward. Now, should we engage or not engage? I don't think that at the end of this whole thing, there will be a winner. There will not be any winner. The only winner, if we do this right, will be the Republic of Ghana and the unity of this particular state. Some people would have to take huge losses. There will not be any clear winners. So we must be very strategic as to how we deal with the various groups. Salam is the lawyer here, so he may correct me if I'm wrong. If you look at the law and what it says about this, if you check the Prohibited Organizations Act of 1976, and if you permit me, I'll run through the whole thing. Section 1 says prohibition of the Togoland Liberation Movement, etc. And it says the following organizations are hereby declared unlawful and prohibited, namely the organization known variously as the Togoland Liberation Movement, TLM, Tolimo, the National Liberation Movement of Western Togoland, and NLMWT, and any other organization, howsoever called, whose objects include advocating and promoting the secession from the Republic of Ghana of the former British mandated territory of Togoland, or part of that territory, or the integration of that territory with a foreign territory. Without prejudice to the generality of paragraph B of subsection 1, the President may, by executive instrument, declare any organization to be an organization to which that paragraph applies, and any organization so declared as an organization to which that paragraph applies, and the offenses and the penalties then come. 1. On and after the commencement of this decree, it is an offense for any person in relation to any organization referred to in the section 1 to summon any person to a meeting of the organization, attend or cause any person to attend any meeting of the organization, publish a notice or an advertisement relating to any meeting of the organization, to prepare or participate in any procession or propaganda campaign of the organization, to use any slogan or label of the organization, to invite persons to support the organization, to grant a loan to, basically to fund, or to make any contribution or funds held or to be held by or for the benefit of the organization, to give any guarantee in respect of such a loan or funds, to be a member of the organization, and any person who contravenes a provision of subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 1,000 penalty units, or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years, or to both the fine and the imprisonment. And Section 3 says punishment of citizens. A citizen of Ghana may be tried and punished for any offense under Section 2, although the act in respect of the charge was committed wholly or partly outside Ghana. So if this law still applies, and to the best of my knowledge it applies, all the activities and everything going on in respect of the Western Togoland conversation we're having is illegal. And anybody involved, anybody who has held any placard, any flag, any branding of who has released a statement, who has organized people, who has funded or has aided in securing funds, anything is illegal. So you ask the question, should we deal with them? That is what the law says. So the law says we must deal with them. But with our knowledge of how some of these things can degenerate and how some of these things must be handled, we also need to be very strategic in dealing with the people, because we are seeing a trend of different groups coming up, and also criminal entities using this as an opportunity to do all sorts of things, whether they believe in the Western Togoland or not. Because these people have set us on a course, criminal entities are also doing their work. So the intelligence agencies must really get to the bottom, understand the parties involved, identify the issues, deal with the people when we get them according to the law, and also deal with the underlying issues that are making people agitate to break away. So it's not a one-way thing, it's a mix of things. And as a people, we should, this goes to the political parties. I don't think any political party that wants to govern this country should play politics with this. Any party that does that is being infantile and is being backward in a nation wrecker, because we cannot play politics with this particular issue. The people of the Volta region, and for the purposes of this conversation, in order not to put myself in trouble with the law, Western Togoland are part of the Republic of Ghana. They are integral components of the nation of Ghana, and you must at all expense ensure that they get development, they feel Ghanaian, which they do, because if you've read a lot of the posts on social media and what the chiefs and the people are saying, they really do. It's just a small section of the people who are trying to use this to destabilize the area. So no political party or no politicians will play games with this. Because if you look at even the resources of the region, the bulk of the oil resources that we have on land, you know, we have oil resources both in the sea and on land. The bulk of it is in the Volta Basin, which is in that particular area. We've discovered certain precious minerals which are not anywhere else in the country aside there. The Volta Lake is the biggest water body that helps us to manage our climatic conditions in the country, helps for transport, a great sustenance for a lot of communities on the west, on the east, on the top, and on the south. The Volta region is the main enclave for tourism and other things. There is the case to be made against the fact that development has not been equitably distributed to the people. And that is something we must deal with. But no politician whatsoever should mount any stage or to use any medium to play politics with this.
Okay, I think that's a point as well. So essentially, you are I mean, pandering to the fact that, well, they shouldn't be engaged, because even the law, there's sufficient law in place currently to outlaw all the activities. So there's no need for them to be engaged, really.
Engagement is in different ways.
In terms of countenancing them or even allowing them to operate, or, for want of a better word, pampering them, or getting them to come to the table.
This is not the time to pamper anybody.
Okay,
but we must find ways, and I'll use engage advisedly, to engage them such that we can understand what is happening, gather all the intelligence, and nip the issue in the bud.
Whether they should be engaged or not, well, like Koju said, we need a mix of solutions. I'm not sure whether going full military style on them, I don't know what I don't know what the right solution would be. But you don't want to also send a signal that you want to engage them. I think the comments coming from our leaders, both in government and in the opposition and in the chiefs, are good for now, condemning them, condemning what they are doing, and painting the picture or projecting the view that nobody is ready to sit with anybody to have any conversation. Indeed, that's what they want. I saw one of the statements they issued after the Friday incident, and they said that Ghana, or the country Ghana, or the government of Ghana, was dealing with this with kids' glove, or I mean, was not looking at this from the serious viewpoint that it deserved, and that they want to negotiate, or the government to call them to negotiate. That is what they want, but you don't want to throw that to them immediately like that. I think what is important is the government must go, or must put its acts together, understand what the problem is properly, see how deep, this has gone into the minds of the people. Fortunately, it doesn't appear a lot of the people even in that side of town even know about the activities of these people. Had it not been the public showing, or that criminal act they engaged in on Friday by blocking the roads, attacking the police stations, and doing all that, and subsequently burning the STC bus, a lot of people wouldn't have even heard of them, even in the region where they claim to be coming from. Also, people, I mean, even now that these things have happened, a lot of people there don't still understand what's happening. They don't even know anything is happening at all. So I think on that front, it is good, because it's not as if there's a groundswell, there's a movement of people wanting to succeed from Ghana. That is great. Government must, I think, go down to the place, understand the issues properly, engage key people who have been involved in matters like that in the past, people who understand the history of the area and the plebiscite and all the things that have happened in the past. And then government should be able to come up with something that works. But at all costs, succeeding, in my view, should not be on the table at all. What really are the concerns of the people? I don't know. But are they concerns of economic deprivation? Are they concerns of recognition?
Identity.
What are the concerns? Identity, etc. We need to understand the concerns so that government quickly starts working on those to ensure that that movement doesn't grow. The sad thing is that normally these agitations start with a few people, but over time they begin to snowball, and a lot of people begin engaging. Now we hear that there are 3 groups. It used to be 1. We have 3 groups, all coming from that one group. And one of them, the Western Togoland Separatists, the Western Togoland Study Group Foundation, which Papavi heads, and there's another one called the Western Togoland Restoration Front, which we understand is more militarized, which is the one currently undertaking this. So if a group, for example, is able to attack a police station, the audacity of attacking a police station, that's serious.
Not just representation of the state.
Attack 2 police stations almost around the same time, fight with the police officers, overpower them, subdue them, release suspects or accused persons who are in cells, and then lock up the police people, get into the police armory, sweep the place off, take all the guns away. That is serious. And that is the activity of a group that is properly coordinated. At the same time, there's another one blocking the roads, at other parts of the region, entry into the region or exit out of the region. This is a group that appears coordinated. The Formation Minister said that they knew, or they know, the financiers behind the group. I think by now, government should be swift in picking up those people. Government should be swift in terms of its action, in getting this under control. Because as we speak, we're just like, it's become like being in some country. You don't know what a terrorist group will do. So if you're able to wake up and go back to bed, you count yourself lucky. So it happened Friday. We were just recovering, thinking it was an isolated incident. And then was it on Monday? Now they attacked the STC. We don't know where they are going to attack next. And they had the audacity to bring out names and pictures of people they want to attack. The Honorable Kujeto Ablakwa, the regional minister, and a few other people, and even key installations they want to attack. This is serious, and this doesn't appear like a group which will be slowing down anytime soon. Right. They're rather picking up in momentum.
Okay, so we'll take a break here. When I come back, I will read some of the comments that have come through. First, it's live and interactive, 0550585832, which is the WhatsApp line. On Twitter and also on the other platforms, you can send your messages and we'll read them for you. So we'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll wrap up on this discussion and then move on to the election 2020 discussion.
I'm experienced now, professional. I done wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail.
This is the game that's going to be remembered as the Lionel Messi match.
Last week, I murdered a rock,
Brilliant Kipchoge. From Mohamed Salah.
injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
Ronaldo's dummy.
Last night, I cut the light off in my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark. Bad. Been chopping trees. I done something new for this fight. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing you reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters Diary.
The Voters Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters Diary every weekday on City TV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020.
Tune into the Voters Diary. It's Ghana's choice. Welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. My name is Duke Bentopoko. I'm in the studio with Estelle Madonu, head of features and articles at CTFM, City TV, and Kujo Akoto-Boateng, head of new media at CTFM, City TV. Gentlemen, so before we went on a break, we're having a discussion with regards to the threat of secession in the Volta region carried out by some three groups, as we've been told now, by the Volta Regional Security Council, headed by the regional minister. So this message coming in from Abdul Mumin Unam from Tamale says the commitment of this government in tackling the security issues in this country is outstanding and needs a collaborative effort by all citizens to champion this agenda, because politicizing the matter of security is injurious to our growth and development. So keep your messages coming in and we would read them. So before we went on a break, Salom was making the point. I would come to you, Kojo, to make a final submission, wrapping up comments on this matter with regards to Western Togoland. Yeah.
I think that the law, as we read, is clear. I think that we all have an idea of how stuff like this degenerates. I think that we all know that whether we like it or not, the Volta region is part of Ghana, and Ghana is a part of the Volta region. It's not going anywhere, and the area so-called referred to as Western Togoland is part of Ghana. What I think should happen going forward is that our intelligence agencies, our security agencies, they must do better with intelligence gathering. I'm saying this because Small Arms Commission says there are about 1.2 million illegal weapons in this country.
True.
We know how the sub-region we live in is, and we know how sometimes if you look at stuff that degenerates into violence, it starts small. The majority of the people may not be interested in the violence or may not agree with whatever is happening. But the moment we don't stop it as fast as possible and the thing goes on, people may find need to protect themselves. And then it degenerates and all sorts of things happen. So I think that our intelligence agencies must be 2-3 steps ahead of all these things. We've been told of stories where key players in this particular issue have over the years been on radio educating people about Western Togoland under the guise of talking about their history and everything. Somebody should be following some of these things to get a sense of where they are trying to go with this. We've seen young boys and women organized to block roads. At least the intelligence agencies intelligence agencies should have known some of these things were coming to be able to thwart whatever they were going to do. And all of us as a country, this is not the time to wear our tribal cloth or our. This is the time for us to be together, because we are an interwoven group of people whose identity is the identity called Ghana. And the Black Star and our national flag represents us internationally. And we are on a journey to development that must be sustained, and stuff like this cannot be encouraged. And if you allow me, I'll say again that we should not create room for any person to play politics with this. People who play politics with this, we must call them to order. The voter chiefs have been phenomenal in standing up to speak to this issue and to show the rest of the world that they are the chiefs, they are the custodians of culture and morality, and they've established their position. This position is the position we are all working with. And so we should work as a people. One, security agencies must do their bit. Politicians must be very wise when it comes to their utterances about this particular issue. And the government must use all the resources it has at its disposal to deal with this issue and bring some finality to this. And we should also know that people may be angry or people may agitate when development is not equitable. Yeah. So in distributing development across the country, we must equitably do that, and we must also speed up the development of deprived areas so that they also know that they're also part of us. So that when people like these people behind this Western Togoland issue start misbehaving, people will not out of poverty and anger support their nation-wrecking moves so that we can all build together and go forward.
Okay. Salam.
Yes. I think that we do not have to countenance this, however we will do it in various forms. I think that our security agencies must be up and doing. When you look at the chronology of the recent history of these people, I mean, just from last year, they declared independence in May last year. They later on hoisted flag at the Regional Coordinating Council on the 6th March or so. And all these things were happening, and we did not see any serious action declaring independence. And indeed, we understand that the event occurred or happened just close to a police station. People gathered there, you don't know what they are doing. A smart police system, which takes intelligence seriously, should be able to tell what was going on there, especially if, as you know, that there's a certain history and the kinds of people who gathered there. Now, they went ahead to hoist flag of the Western Togoland group or nation, as they want to call it, at the Regional Coordinating Council. That was impunity. We didn't really hear anything. What the regional minister said was that it was fickle, it was really nothing, and that it did not amount to anything. But that was serious. Now, they then went, mounting billboards and signposts as places, welcome to Western Togoland, or you are leaving the Western Togoland, drive safely, etc. All these things were signs coming, and all these things have happened in a very short time. I think that our security agencies must take things seriously. They must collaborate with the chiefs properly. When you read the statement from the Bato Traditional Council, they are clearly not happy about how the DCE and a few people in the area have, managed the intelligence they gave them. They clearly are asking why the DCE failed to act when he was giving information the night before that over 200 young people who had been there before, were grouped in a certain part of that area and planning what we don't know. And so their view is that if proper action was taken, a lot of these wouldn't have happened. Indeed, government is also saying that if they didn't do what they did, maybe more severe consequences could have arisen. But the point is that our intelligence gathering agencies and our enforcement agencies must be up and doing. We cannot sit down and be doing this armchair security we see around. Maybe because Ghana hasn't seen any serious disturbances. We are not saying this is, but this has the potential to become. It's important we put our shoulders to the wheel and deal with this before it becomes something we don't want it to become.
Okay, so we'll just read a couple of messages still related to this issue and then move to the matters from the Electoral Commission. So this one from Jones Anku from Ho says, please, most of us here are not part of these groups. We don't even understand what they are about. please let us be careful the way some people are politicizing the whole issue. Zaid from Tamale, I think these secessionists must be faced squarely with the strength of the state and flashed out immediately. Of course, speaking to the point about the group not having any form of popular support on the ground, but that's from Joe Sanko. Let's move to the issue with regards to the Electoral Commission and Election 2020. The first issue we are looking at has got to do with the registration exercise, a special registration exercise, one-day exercise, which is just being completed across the country today. But of course, there are calls for it for an extension again with regards to that. Was this exercise necessary in the first place?
Well, I would say that it's important to allow for participation. So anything that will engender participation, I'm for it. So indeed, in the registration process, there were parts in the country that people really were not registering. I mean, you went to the registration centers and very few people were there. In the afternoons, most of the places, there were people were not there. But it became also apparent that a lot more people, or some people, really wanted to. A lot of them were those locked out of the country because of COVID. And so I think the circumstances of this particular year's registration exercise are a bit peculiar in the sense that there were people locked out of the country, not, I mean, no fault of theirs, because of the circumstance. They had to be locked out. And now, fortunately, borders have been open, air borders have been open, and now people are able to come in. I think it's just fair that if those people are willing, opportunity be given to them to be able to register. And indeed, a few groups have been formed, you know, pushing the EC to give an opportunity to register. One of such groups is the Article 42 group, and a few others. We've heard some of them speak to the matter, etc. Indeed, some people were in quarantine at the time, and a whole lot of things. So I think it was quite a good opportunity granted people to register. And it's interesting that even though this is an exercise which is like none other, there are still a lot of people queuing at places saying they've not registered. I don't know what really might have accounted for that. Of course, we had issues of slow network being slow or not up to scratch, etc. But I thought sometime in the middle of the exercise, the attendance or the turnout at the centers, you know, wasn't really high. But it certainly means that there's demand for it. But whether the exercise should continue, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, could you on the same question of
I've seen a lot of videos about the exercise. I mean, I'll go straight to the exercise and how it was conducted. And I asked myself, does the EC have something like a research desk that can give them an idea of how many people they could register within this one-day period, right? Now, if you have that and you have a projection, and you know that you can do, say, 50 or 100,000 people within a day based on even the main registration exercise and the people you think might have lost out on registering during the main registration exercise, then you allocate resources accordingly. And I think that in instances like this, you have to over-allocate the resources. The reason why I'm saying that is that I've seen videos where there's a district office where there are lots of people and the biometric machines they have are limited. So they can only do just a few people every hour, right? Now, in an instance like this, if I were the EC boss, I would ensure that every district office has enough and even extra machines and personnel so that this exercise can move faster, because it's just for one day. It's limited because you have an idea of the number of people you want to register. You've done the main registration exercise and you saw the trends across the various polling stations as to the rates of registration and the number of people they capture in a day. So that should give you a sense as to how to plan for this to prevent some of the things we saw. So I think those are some of the things that we need to address. And going forward, really, as a country, we must have the difficult conversation. I know the leaders agree and the politicians agree that the way we compile our voters register is not the way to go. We are spending millions of dollars fixing the national ID system, millions of dollars digitizing the system, millions of dollars turning around births and deaths registry. There's been the issue about the law, and that's according to the law, we must compile a voters register to be able to vote. And again, I'll defer to Solomon on this as a lawyer. If we have to fix the law or change the law, we must do it as soon as possible so that we don't even go into the next election looking for money to do a voter registration exercise like the way we do. Where we must be able to improve our operation such that elsewhere you turn 18, the system identifies that you are 18, the system regularizes you to prepare you to be able to vote.
Proper integration of all the systems.
So we reduce the amount of money we spend, because sometimes we have to depend on donor agencies or go borrow for this. That money we use for the voter registration exercise, or we've been using, can be used to build better schools, better hospitals, invest in a lot of social good for the people. So I think that as a people, we need to be thinking about that so that we free ourselves of these issues that come up every now and again. It also helps in national planning, really. It really helps us all around in also analyzing data to know how to do certain things. So it was a great opportunity to be given to people, but I think that we can do it better. And going forward as a country, we must decide that we cannot keep doing this. It's cost intensive, it's capital intensive, it's stressful. If we have a national ID system, we must push to capture a lot of data and a lot of people in the system. We must ensure the birth and death registry is working. Every Ghanaian gets their TIN number and their national ID numbers, and use it as everyday identifiers, so that once Jude turns 18, the system identifies he's 18. If it's a text message or an email, or the person will just have to go to the EC office, you take your biometric. Your biometrics is already in the national database. So if it's an ID card that has to be printed for you, they can print it. But even that, it may not be necessary, because if you have your national ID, which is biometric, and you go to the polling station and they can verify the information on it that you are 18, it actually helps us deal with a lot of these things. So we as a people must decide now for cost savings in future and for efficiency in future.
Okay, so on the point of being decisive as a country, because that question lies squarely at the feet of our leaders. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll look at the final issue and wrap up the conversation on what the papers are saying in this edition.
I'm experienced now, professional. I done wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail.
This is the game that is going to be remembered as the Lionel Messi match.
Last week, I murdered a rock.
Brilliant Kipchoge.
Injured a stone. Hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Last night, I cut the light off my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was gone. Bad. Been chopping trees. I done something new for this fight. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
On the 7th of December, you will be going to the polls to elect a member of parliament. How well do you know your constituency?
We take a visit to the Owutu Senya East constituency of the Central region. We are coming to you from the Inshayaso constituency in the Ashanti region. I'm still in the Aswanse constituency.
Political parties will be campaigning for your vote.
We have done almost about 80 to 90 different projects across the constituency.
There is no single school under any electoral area that has not seen the development of Honorable Muntaka.
But as a constituent, what will inform your choice of a candidate to represent you in Parliament?
My party is my community. What program are you bringing in to solve my problem of my community?
Be involved in what concerns you. My name is Fremedu Nyame. Join me on the constituency for all you need to know concerning your socio-economic development. The constituency airs on City TV Mondays to Thursdays at 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. We're wrapping up the discussion on the program edition with the rounds that have been made essentially by the candidate of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, John Dramani Mahama, and President Akufo-Addo, who's also been touring the Ashanti region. He's currently in the Eastern region and inaugurating some projects, cutting sword among others. But on the point of discussion with regards to this matter, election 2020, the main candidate, whether we've come to accept it or not, gradually growing a duopoly in the country, MPP and DC. Candidate Mahama is touring. President Akufo-Addo is also touring, of course, touting his achievements, as well as what President Mahama wants to come back and candidate Mahama wants to come back and do. What are the main issues that stand out for you in the tour of the Bono region and then also in the Ashanti region? If I'll start from you. So.
Yeah, before I answer that, I think on the last discussion on the EC thing, I don't know if the EC has explained whether they will do another round of exhibition for people who would have done this registration to check their names were there, or I don't know if they will open their offices for that at some point. But I think it's important we know, especially us, the first time they did that, we had issues of missing names, etc. Now back to the discussion now. I think the campaign generally has been civil. I think that the candidates are speaking to issues as much as possible. I try to listen to some of them, and you realize that the issues they are dealing with are things they have said they want to do in their manifesto, trying to break the issues down for people. There are other general issues which will be coming up, that who has done better or who has done better than the other person. So like for Mahama saying that the record showed that Ronaldo has borrowed about 140 billion cedis and there is nothing to show for it. And he said he borrowed only 56 billion, but there's a lot to show for it. You know, those things will always come. Mahama saying, Bamia saying that Mahama is the Archbishop of promises. You know, those things make somewhat the campaign or the process exciting, you know, though insults are not allowed, and I'm not sure these are insults. So I think generally they are sticking to the issues. I just want to see a bit more of their engagement, and obviously because of COVID, we are not seeing the big rallies, the excitements that come with the big rallies, etc. But they are still moving. They try to stand on top of their cars, the open tops of their cars, and speak to people. I mean, whilst they are a bit detached from the people because they are high up in their cars, the masses are still, you know, gathered down there, not observing social distance. It appears the conversation about social distance and the COVID protocols has been thrown out of the window on this. But I think generally it's been an issue-driven campaign, just that we do not have headlines or headlineable promises or campaign themes like we had in 2016. But I think generally, yes, it's been issue-driven, and the parties are trying to speak to issues they've raised in their manifesto about rents, about Okada, about a lot of things.
Could you have the last one?
Yes, Selom mentioned something which I have been thinking about for a very long time. The campaign and how it's being carried about. When COVID-19 came and we're practicing social distancing, wearing of face masks, doing ABCD, we all saw how things were. And now political campaign season, and it looks as though there is nothing really called COVID-19 in the system. It makes me think a lot of thoughts that, is it even time that we just lifted a lot of the bans and lived our lives? Because we are seeing all these things happen. And I hope that the Ghana Health Service is also doing some background work, as in background research, like the areas where these political activities are happening. They do some random testing of people to understand the trends, right? So that we understand whether we've actually won or we are winning the fight against COVID-19, to also inform the government as to how they open up the country for things to be done. I see it as an interesting case study because, look, when former President Mahama goes out, he's mobbed. Lots of people. Yeah. President Akufo-Addo goes out, he's mobbed. Jena Nopokwa is traveling, she's mobbed. Baumia goes to places, he's mobbed. And you see these people, the politicians and the people in close proximity, sometimes with masks on, sometimes without masks. And you see a total violation of the COVID-19 protocols. So if the Ghana Health Service is probably conducting tests, random tests within these areas, and getting to see a trend. That could even inform our national strategy as to how we open up for life to return close to normal or otherwise. So that's the key thing for me. The other thing is also about the way the campaign is going and the way the conversations are going. There are a lot of things being said. There are a lot of swords being cut and inaugurations or commissionings of things being done. And sometimes I feel that maybe every year should be an election year like this without the attacks, but speaking to issues, cutting swords, and inaugurating things. The other thing that I think that our politicians should be worried about is how they talk about loans and who took this loan and who has not done anything and who is doing. The truth is, if you look at the projects and the tenure of the loans and how things travel, and you do a proper analysis, they are all taking loans and we are not effectively getting the full benefit of our loans. It's something that we can debate. So they can debate on their political levels, but they should also see to the long-term benefit that some of these loans you are taking and some of these conversations they are having are going to have on the next generation, because they are the people who are going to pay.
Okay. All right. So on that note, we would draw down the curtain on what the papers are saying in this edition. My name is Duke Mentor. We had in studio Selo Madonu, head of features and articles here at CTFM and CTTV, and Kojo Akoto Boateng, head of new media at CTFM, CTTV. My name is Duke Mentor. Up next is Voters Diary.